In your own words, how have portrayals evolved over time?
I feel like if I try and do that history, I'm gonna miss so many important things. Did you have George do that? He's really good at it.
Television, movies reflect societal change, and society has changed.
I think Queer Eye is a show that brought gay people into living rooms that had never had gay people in them before.
What we don't have is a lot of content on trans people.
There's a great history of gay characters, and they are the rainbow of people from the LGBTQ community.
The history of the LGBTQ community in the movies, on television, has been you start out here and you gradually fight your way to get up here.
It's true for any underrepresented or marginalized community.
You were searching the television or the movies for who might be or could be or possibly could be LGBTQ.
Morning, Ebba. What are you doing up so early?
You'd have a history of a kind of winking, sort of suggested sexuality.
Certainly if you look at Dietrich and Garbo.
We were lazy stereotypes.
Oh, I feel so damn sick and dirty, I can't stand it anymore.
What you saw so much were gay men and lesbians as tragic figures, right? And they were often unpartnered.
I always tell my husband, I'll go see it as long as nobody commits suicide at the end.
Very often, the gay characters were comedic, were fopped.
Yes, some characters are the butt of the joke, but I do feel like with each visible character, we're just taking steps forward.
Because there are so many more stories being told, we don't have to live and die by those stereotypes anymore.
Do you have any lesions on any part of your body at this time that resemble the lesions you had on your face at the time that you were fired?
Yes, on my torso.
So then you get to the 1980s and 1990s, which I would argue are the most important transitional moment in terms of the proliferation of work about gay people. There's a sense that gay people are coalescing around an issue that becomes a real issue when the AIDS crisis happens.
Not fair, you've been in love a bunch.
Just once, really.
Now he's gone, right?
He's right here.
We can step into the light and expose ourselves, as it were, as real, rounded, flawed human beings.
We've been prevented from telling these stories for such a long time that we need to seize that.
Therese Balavat.
It's lovely.
And yours?
Carol.
Carol.
It is rare to see LGBTQ representation in major studio films. Television, streaming content, cable are ahead.
Movies are still meant to be blockbuster hits. Television can find narrow audiences and cater to them in a very real way.
Looking at a 30-minute episode or an hour-long episode of television, people are just braver with the material.
Oh, she's an angel. You and your wife must be thrilled.
Sorry. Daddy needed snacks. Hi.
And if you want a younger audience, there is no way to avoid it.
Ellen, are you coming out or not?
Ellen is a celebrity who used her platform and her own identity to break through every closet that ever existed.
Why do I have to be so ashamed? I mean, why can't I just say the truth? I mean, be who I am. I'm 35 years old. I'm so afraid to tell people. I mean, Susan, I'm gay.
The Ellen episode happened after we had gotten to know Ellen, and that's the key. She was telling us something about herself, as if a friend was telling you something about themselves.
I mean, it was a complete game changer.
Ladies and gentlemen, traffic fire.
I grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico, very closeted, without having any sort of role model, specifically on television.
You're a bit of a catch. Any guy would kill to be standing where I'm standing right now. Thanks, Jack. You will now forget everything I've just said.
Will and Grace was huge for me. To see two people living their lives fully was very empowering.
If you look back and you think about Joe Biden and marriage equality, his reference was Will and Grace.
I think Will and Grace probably did more to educate the American public than almost anything anybody's ever done so far.
Media is the biggest cultural needle mover. We soften the ground so that marriage equality can move forward, so trans rights can move forward, so that adoption laws can move forward for LGBTQ people.
I have people coming up to me on the street, they want to hug me because they feel like they know me, they feel like I'm a family member. And I feel like, well, if that's how they're interacting with me on the street, then like imagine them when they're at their polls voting for gay marriage, maybe they're thinking about, well, I certainly want Mitch and Cam to get married.
What happens when you start to know gay people, even if they are fictional ones, is that you start to see that their lived experience is remarkably similar to your own.
It's like people have those like empathetic moments when they're like, whoa, like this is such a reflection of something that I feel.
Queer Eye opened the door for relationships between gay guys and straight guys, and we could see how both of us prospered from that.
What we're going to do is create a really beautiful plate with some of these.
We were the first TV show to have an entirely gay out cast.
You've got, these 5 gay guys who each have a special power, and together they form the perfect lifestyle choice.
I think the Fab Five is still in fashion because this country could use it more than ever.
I learned this from Queer Eye numero uno. That gorgeous Kyan taught me this trick. You spray, delay, and walk away.
I think the new Queer Eye definitely reflects the evolution that I think our culture has gone through.
It's broadening its scope to allow women, trans folk, gay men into the mix because everybody needs a little bit of help.
My daughter actually styled me today based on Queer Eye. I've got a French tuck going.
You can never know what show is going to end up being a part of a cultural moment until you've made it.
The category is Bring It Like Royalty.
We've come a very long way. When you look at a Pose, which is actually written by people of color who are gay and transgender, that's a great example.
We always see trans women of color like struggling through poverty, as opposed to like seeing trans women of color functioning in family-oriented environments.
You made your mother proud.
It's very important that we see LGBTQ people both in front of and behind the camera.
If we're gonna make a production about a story involving someone who is trans and the relationships that they have through their transness, it's important for trans people to be in that brain.
As we get more writers and artists who are of different backgrounds,
Please welcome Janet Mock.
we open up the kinds of stories we can tell.
We wanna be doctors, we wanna be superheroes, we wanna be someone that is seen saving someone's life.
We've made this incredible progress as a community because of how we captured hearts and minds on screen.
My name is Harvey Milk, and I'm here to recruit you.
I don't think that there's ever going to be a moment where like, done. I think we have to continue. We have to keep moving forward, and we have to keep deepening these characters.
Being able to understand those identities and the humanity that's inside all of them is an incredibly liberating thing that will ultimately make it a lot easier to go from LGBTQIA to person.
I would say, from this vantage point of an octogenarian, you ain't seen nothing yet.